Hey 918ers, it's Geek Boy coming to you once again from the ultra-secret secure fan cave located in parts unknown right here in the 918. And before we get started tonight, I want to ask everyone that if you like what we do, if you like our content, if you like our articles and our videos, please leave a like on this video, share this video. If you don't mind, jump over to our YouTube page and like and subscribe to it, mash that bell so that you can get notifications when we drop new content. There's been a lot of changes recently going into 2020 from the various online platforms, and these are the kind of things we have to kind of say at the beginning in order to keep building our community. So with that having been said, let's get back on topic. And that topic is the fact that we have reached week 6 of our Star Wars retrospective. And I have to be honest with everyone, these past couple of weeks have been the most fun of this series because it's given us a chance to kind of reflect back on some of the most important and beloved, dare I say, precious films of our early fandom. I mean, it's not like we ever need an excuse to watch the original Star Wars trilogy, but it certainly doesn't hurt. In fact, this series that we've been doing has actually motivated me to watch all the films through slightly different eyes, and I would say as a result, some of my criticisms have softened while others have kind of bubbled up to the surface and become more severe. And I think it's important to make that point as we prepare to review this particular chapter in the Star Wars saga. So, as we said the past couple of weeks, it was episode 4, or Star Wars, to people of my generation. That was the cultural phenomenon, the milestone. But it was The Empire Strikes Back, which not only set nearly an unattainable high bar for sequels, but it also showed that the Star Wars universe had legs, that it had depth, and it had breadth to it. And it did it so well that it put the follow-up film, which, by the way, was originally entitled Revenge of the Jedi, into the position of having to pay off the tremendous amount of narrative debt that George Lucas had incurred with the prior 2 films. Now, as if that wasn't challenging enough, you had other behind-the-scene things brewing, including George Lucas going through a very tumultuous divorce. There was a lot of perceived backlash over the darker tone of both The Empire Strikes Back and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, as well as Lucas never quite settling on the direction that he wanted the story to take. And let's not forget the reported arm twisting it took to get Harrison Ford to come back as Han Solo. So all these elements kind of combined into a perfect storm that for some people prevented Return of the Jedi from attaining the heights it could have. On the other hand, there are folks in our group that not only regard it as a very fitting end to the middle trilogy, but also consider it to be their favorite of the original 3. So with that being said, let's chain up the Rancor, pet your Ewok, make sure it's not a trap, as Fanboys 918 takes a deep dive into Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, on this episode of The Talking Geek, which starts right now.
Welcome back, 918ers, for our last segment of our review of the original Star Wars trilogy. We have come to one of my favorites, Episode 6.
How would we know that this was one of your favorites?
Return of the Jedi. So it is 1983, so we'll take a minute to just get everybody's perspective of how they felt about this movie when it originally came out. Let's start with Turugal. Kick us off.
This is one of my favorites as well, the Ewoks. The way that they put everything together that had been building in the other 2 episodes. And, it was the final chapter, and we didn't get our answers, the questions that we had, we didn't get answers to, like, how did it all begin? But, for the most part, it was cohesive, and it was something that those 3 movies, I really didn't need another 3 to go on, or 3 before,
or 6,
or 9. Or 9. I always knew
however many we're gonna get.
I knew that there was always 3 more stories that George Lucas had in mind to tell. I worked for a dentist that her brother back in the 70s had a book that George Lucas, I guess, had wrote, and it actually had what he had outlined for the next 3 after Return of the Jedi. And I didn't think we needed it, especially going back and watching it. We didn't need the continuation of the story. And because we finished, Darth Vader did turn good. And Luke was a great Jedi. Leia learned that she was a Jedi. Her and Han were together. And they won. And so I really never felt like we needed that next 3 movies.
Or those first 3.
Or the first 3.
I did not care how Darth Vader became
Darth Vader.
So,
Yeah.
I do enjoy those pieces of it though, because he created a universe in this trilogy that was interesting, and I did want to know more. I didn't know necessarily what I wanted, but sure.
Did you get
Give me
what you
some
wanted?
more. Well,
That was neither a yes nor a no. If you did not pick up on,
I enjoyed.
For those that wonder, please go back and watch our original trilogy.
I
our
enjoyed
prequel
1,
trilogy.
2, and 3. I have also enjoyed, I think more than someone sitting next to me, 7, 8, and 9. So,
just let
but
you,
let's focus.
that is Geek Boy, and I am IT Geek.
Wow.
Okay.
Let's focus. So, Geek Boy, what are
Yes.
your initial thoughts on Return of the Jedi?
Okay, so again, being Geek Boy, I got an advanced copy of the script for what was then called Revenge of the Jedi.
Yes.
Okay.
And I read it, and it was the same basic story progression. Start off on Tatooine, then we do a few other things. We end up on what was then, I don't know if it was Endor or not, but it was a forest moon. But it was
supposed to be
it was
Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk. It
Yes,
was
it's
Kashyyyk.
supposed to be
Well, I don't
Kashyyyk.
remember if it was Kashyyyk or a moon of Kashyyyk. But it was,
Right, but
it was anyway. It was supposed to be the Wookiee homeworld.
Yes.
And I was like, oh wow, this is cool. This is going to be freaking great. And I don't remember the whole progression, but it seems like we ended up in a cave, like a lava volcanic cave, similar to, and the design was very much similar to what we ended up with in Episode 9, where they find the villain in that one, like the
Okay.
big throne set piece.
Gotcha.
That's what the production art looked like.
All right.
But anyway, there were just certain little things that made that for my sensibilities, made the movie more interesting. The fact that they were fighting Wookiees and
Right.
not Ewoks, and Wookiees were doing Wookiee things like ripping stormtroopers in half.
Well, not to mention, you never saw it in the movies,
Yeah.
but the Wookiees had like these huge claws
Yeah.
that would come out and literally
Yeah.
eviscerate you.
And they
That's
had-
why, I mean, look
yeah.
all Wolverine on you and everything.
Yeah,
so.
it looked nothing. I mean, it was described nothing like what the epic battle we got in, was it Revenge of the Sith, where they were on Kashyyyk, and you saw the real Wookiees.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, didn't look anything like that because
Right.
they didn't have the money to do that. But I believe part of the movie took place on Coruscant, which I thought was really cool. And something else was Lando and the Millennium Falcon made the ultimate sacrifice. Lando died taking down the shield to get the fighters through
Oh, well, see,
the Death Star.
Yeah.
And George Lucas was like, no, we're not going to do that. This is a happy movie. And they're like, well, no. They're like, someone's got to, I mean, I don't even think George Lucas wanted to kill Yoda. That's how where he
Okay,
was
wow.
in his headspace. He was like, no, this is all happy. The last one was dark, dark, dark. We didn't like, they're like, no, somebody's got to die. It's got to up the stakes. Of course, everybody, usual suspect, Harrison Ford, pick me, pick me,
Yeah.
pick me. You know,
No, Harrison, put your hand down. It's not happening.
Yeah, you're not happy. You're not dying.
He wanted to die, and I believe that Harrison Ford and Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote the screenplay, were lobbying for that. But George Lucas was like, no, we're
Can't
not
be
gonna
a
do that. So
hero
for me,
made
when
a
I
hero
when I
character.
sat in the theater, I was there were so many things about it that I love. I love Luke's backflip, you know, catching the lightsaber, and I love the space battle at the end. But ultimately, I do have to say that one of my very earliest cinematic disappointments was watching Return of the Jedi, not instead of Revenge of the Jedi.
I don't know. I thought you were going to go down a different path with a certain little suit on the princess that we were.
Oh, that was a great
We'll
thing.
get there.
That
We'll get there.
That was not a
Pump the
disappointment at all.
brakes. Pump the brakes. IT Geek, let's hear your initial thoughts that do not involve
Don't
any
do it.
slave talk.
Well, I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. No, so
That's the shortest episode we've done.
thanks for tuning in. No, so Return of the Jedi and everything, I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it wrapped up a lot of stories that we had going on. I do agree with the sense that I thought they played it a little safe. You know me, as a GM, I'll kill a main character in a heartbeat and stuff. It really,
You do.
it really, Woo! Hey, we talked about it. Hey, you agree?
In dramatic fashion.
You know,
Got a little bitterness going. It's got to be in between these
hey,
two.
there's nothing but love here. But no, so I mean,
Okay.
but no, so I mean, I thought they played a little safe, and I can understand the dying out of Yoda. I mean, I mean, he's
He's old.
500 plus years
Oh,
old and
he's
stuff.
800 and something.
Whatever it was. I mean,
Yeah,
he was
like,
in the
you know,
hundreds.
like-
So
When 900 years old you are.
yeah,
Look
as good as he. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I thought that was a very natural way, especially in my personal opinion, it was a very natural way for Luke to still have all these questions and not really have a way to get them answered,
Yes.
other than having his forced conversation with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And even Obi-Wan says, I can't remember the phrasing, but basically his truth is in the eye of the beholder. I mean,
Right.
what I told you, it could have been true. It just depends on your perspective.
Perspective.
So,
Because he was asking, that was what
you told me my father was
was
killed by
Yeah.
Vader. Well, in a way, yeah, and I
Yeah,
kind
he
of agree with
was.
him. I was like, yeah. So I got that. The Luke and Leia brother sister. I thought that was kind of a reach. I mean, there had been nothing up to this point that had, other than the fact that he was able to reach out through the Force and connect with her on the Millennium Falcon when he's at the bottom of Bespin, of Cloud City and stuff. So I was like, well, how is he able to do that? And
Well,
so
but-
that kind of gave me a little bit of a tie that maybe she is Force sensitive. But
I was going to say,
sister, I didn't
go
I didn't
back
expect.
to when we landed on Dagobah and Obi-Wan was there in his Force Ghost.
Yeah.
And Luke was not.
There's another.
There
Yeah.
is another.
Right.
So they did foreshadow that there is another, there is another Skywalker.
Well, and then that's something that at the end of it they never said. It wasn't another Skywalker. There was just there is another.
Another.
And so
Kind
this
of
is
vague as the remember from Wrath of Khan.
exactly. So it's
Be anything you want it to be. in the
yeah,
next
it could have been another Skywalker. It could have been just another
Another Force-
strong Force sensitive. It could have been an offspring of Palpatine of some sort. We
Ugh.
calm down.
I said nothing.
Really, I see the thermometer going up.
I
It's
said
gotta
nothing.
Anyway,
Get the powder out, dampen down the red.
I just got the mouse and the drink.
that's
all I got.
right. So anyway, I guess I'll just go ahead and lead into kind of the thing that I thought was kind of a cool story idea, and I don't know if it was meant to be or not. And as I think we got with episodes 1, 2, and 3, we found out it was not the case. But so kind of jumping ahead, when Luke loses his hand, and then when we have the final battle scene between Luke and Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, you see him cut off his hand. I always thought in my mind that was basically the Emperor's punishment to Vader to trying to get Luke to join him to overthrow him. I'd always thought that, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool that the Emperor knew what Darth Vader was up to and decided to punish him like that. And then I still had the same realization in the sense that, Luke sees that and he's like, okay, I'm kind of going down that same path as Darth Vader, blah, blah, blah. I've got to make a choice here and stuff. So it wasn't until 1, 2, and 3 that we knew that basically, Vader had lost that due to other saber fighting.
Lots of limbs.
Lots of limbs to go along with
Lots
that.
of
So,
limbs, yeah. Lots
so
of
anyway,
limbs.
so I mean, to me, like I said, I again kind of revert back to your question. I thought Return of the Jedi was a good story, a good way to end the story, and to me, I really didn't think we needed any more to be said after that for like a 1, 2, and 3 or a 7, 8, and 9. So
Okay, so you brought up a character that we get to see on screen in this episode. So let's talk a little bit about how Emperor Palpatine came into us on screen.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, you're not seeing the hologram of him. He's coming to the new Death Star, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's behind schedule, and Vader shows up to help him get him back on track because the Emperor's coming and he wants to do an inspection. Well, I think there's more of a, Emperor sees that this is where the final showdown's going to be, so that's why he's got to be here and stuff. So yeah, so I'm
there to control the situation.
Exactly. So, I'll take it. So I was pretty, I was kind of confused in the beginning because I was always wondering, even since Empire Strikes Back, is how's this feeble old man have control over Darth Vader, one of the the strongest Force user that we've pretty much seen to date. And it never dawned on me that he was supposed to be a Dark Lord, a Sith. Right. And so, it wasn't until he started talking that basically he had the power. Oh, that makes more sense. So I mean, his appearance, I guess, kind of was the dark flip side of what Yoda was. Older, decrepit, but still strong in the Force to the point that, you don't mess with him. And it wasn't until I found out that he was a Force user that actually became more apparent to me. So I like the idea of Emperor Palpatine being portrayed, Lord Sidious, however you want to refer to him and everything, as this, again, kind of this feeble character just having so much commandment over the dark side. So I was pretty that's an element that I did like about Return of the Jedi.
Thoughts on Palpatine?
Pretty much I agree with just almost everything that the IT Geek said. I kind of felt the same thing as like when I saw that ramp open and this guy comes down on a cane. I'm like, what's this all about? Because again, we didn't have the prequels as a reference, but I thought the performance was great. I thought Ian McGurban did a great job, and I just thought of how cool it was that he was of the right age that he could come back and act and play the character of Palpatine in the prequels. I just thought that was just, he's the best part of all of those films.
3,
yeah.
1, 2, 3, and 5 and 6. His performance is spot on.
Yeah, and so I did think that was a really good touch. I know that people that may not know, one of the additions they made to the Empire Strikes Back special edition was they put Ian McDiarmid in as the Emperor. He wasn't really the original actor playing him because they felt that actor didn't really nail it. Mm-hmm. I think between the 3 prequels and this one, we know that was a good call.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So, but other than that, I agree with everything you pretty much said. So.
Okay, so you kind of segued in, and I'll toss this one down to Turtle Gal. So in the last 2 episodes, we have talked about, on this trilogy, they have gone back in and added some effects.
Yes.
So let's talk about how we feel. Like, I know that there are strong feelings at the table about some of the additions that didn't work for us. Turtle Gal. I would say let's talk about Jabba's
palace.
Lair?
Palace. Let's go with
Jabba's palace. It was, because once again, they brought all these aliens in. We got to see the Twilight, and we got to, they didn't say how Lando got there. We saw how 3PO and R2 got there, but and then when Leia brought Chewie in, I thought it was really interesting is Sababa that was in the pod racing with Anakin. We were watching it the other day, and when Luke was coming down the stairs after he'd forced his way in, it went across the screen. I was like, I don't recall that being there. It was like, why did we add this character? There was no reason to bring that character in. They had other characters in there that were from the prequels, and I'm like, they would be gone. We're years,
a lot of Muppets.
A lot of Muppets.
How long do we think this would have been after? Anakin would have been.
He was 8.
He was 8 or 9.
12.
Yeah,
something like that. I want to say 8. So if you think about it, 8.
This time frame had to have been at least
20 years,
30 years,
20 to 30.
Because Anakin would have needed a decade to grow up before he knocked up Padme. So,
well, I think because
could have born children young.
Yeah, because he was probably 18 when him.
I would think he was 18 to 20.
Well, they always took it that the original trilogy started when Luke was 18.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So,
what. So
I
we know
mean-
at least 18 years have passed.
Yeah, so I would say, if anything, I mean, we're looking easily 30 plus years from when we see Anakin in Episode 1 to basically when we get into Episode 4.
So I mean,
New Hope.
Yeah.
likelihood some of the characters from the new original,
Well, yeah.
the first
The first
three,
sequel prequel trilogy.
Right.
could potentially show up there, but what would they be doing there?
Yeah, why would they be
Yeah.
part of Jabba's palace? You know, and
Because we're not on Tatooine. In
Yeah.
one. Well, no,
Oh,
in one,
yeah.
you know, or when the race is going on, when Annie's there. It's not, is it Tatooine?
Yeah, that's Tatooine.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Tatooine.
Okay.
yeah.
For some reason, I always thought it was never Tatooine or
No,
something.
it was
like that.
No, it was.
Tatooine.
They weren't
Okay.
at Mos Eisley, but they were.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
on Tatooine. But Jabba's palace wasn't on Tatooine.
Yeah, it was. That's where he was. They were on Tatooine.
They were back on Tatooine?
Yeah. Remember, Luke says, "I was born here. You know, you're gonna die here. You know, it's convenient."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But he
Okay.
doesn't.
But he doesn't.
He doesn't.
That'll be an edit. That's right.
So, you know, and that's something that, so we got a bunch of new characters, reboots, and, you know, I don't know. It's
Well, I
A
say
lively
the
music.
band. Let's talk
Oh,
about
Oh
that.
my gosh.
I think there's a consensus at the table that
Oh,
the
yeah.
band scene was just a waste of time.
I mean, I
Yeah.
thought the band scene, as it was originally presented, was kind of sketchy or
Yeah.
unnecessary anyway.
Yeah.
And the only thing
I mean, the blue snuffleupagus at the keyboards
Yeah.
was just
and the only thing I thought was neat was it was like, oh boy, Geek Boy, when they're flying out to go dump everyone in the Sarlacc, and they brought the band along with
Oh,
them
yeah,
on the
well,
darts. Yeah, sure, bring the band. You know, they're
well,
playing.
every Titanic needs a band to go down.
That's
Yeah.
right. What that means, Luke should have got a dark side point for murdering those innocent musicians. But
Well, he
actually,
should
they
got a
weren't
dark-
innocent. Believe me, they needed to go.
No.
Leia should have choked them when she got done with Jabba.
Well, I always thought that Luke should have got a dark side point if you know the role playing game.
Yeah.
Basically, when he choked the
Gamorrean
guards
guards, yeah.
to come through, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's not very
Well,
good.
and that was my question too. Is okay, how did Luke get so powerful from the Empire, where he lost his hand and was falling down for Leia to come and pick him up, to walking into Jabba's palace and just forcing his way in? How did he become so powerful? Because they didn't say anything about his training.
Yeah,
Right.
and he didn't get much time with Yoda. By
No.
the time he rolls around and like shows back up on Dagobah,
Yeah.
And Yoda's dying.
Yoda's dying.
Yeah. So there is a book. I know we had this conversation. I don't need to read a comic book, but it was based on George Lucas's original notes for Return of the Jedi, called Shadows of the Empire.
Mhm.
It's a really good book.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much time, but Luke goes on a little bit of a meditation journey,
Right.
and it continues honestly, it kind of builds on the Force Skype thing that we saw in the sequel trilogy. Him and Vader are kind of doing that a little bit. So it's kind of neat. But he does, it's basically he's meditating, and one day something just kind of turns on. Like he digs in deep
Right.
into himself, and a lot of his powers kind of just,
Manifest,
wow,
yeah.
manifest. So again, not that it helped us understand what you guys are talking about, but but getting back to the band thing, again, I thought the band itself the first time around was a little unnecessary.
Right.
The only thing that kind of piqued my interest was, as I said, as they're going out to the pit of Cocoon to cast them into the Sarlacc, I noticed they're playing a keyboard riff that's very reminiscent of Rick James' "Give It To Me, Baby." That's all I can think of is, hey, that's "Give It To Me, Baby" from Rick James. And R2, they're looking out the window, and R2's serving drinks, and they're grooving to some Rick James. I hear that.
Rick James.
Thanks, bitch.
So yeah. Yeah. So that's what I thought about that. Apart from that, way too many Muppets.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
And again, it was almost like they saw Yoda worked, and they knew that the only way they were going to be able to make Jabba work was that way. They thought, well, heck, if Yoda, let's do the whole damn
Even
palace that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
But like
Yeah.
Turtle Cow pointed out, we got to see a Twilight for the first time.
Oh yeah.
So
Two of them technically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You had his the slave
Yeah.
girl
and his lieutenant,
who was green, by the way. And they taken their key from Star Trek.
That's
There,
right.
you know, Ryan slave girl. Or
we likes to have multiple skin tones.
this
we've
is
seen,
true.
but
This
yes.
is very true.
But yeah, so it's Return of the Jedi as a whole is kind of a mixed bag.
It is. I mean, that's why I'm saying it's a good movie. Is it great? I don't think so, but I think it wrapped everything up very nice into a bow and everything. So,
So let's go ahead. We're at Jabba's palace right now, so we might as well go ahead and breach the subject of Slave Leia here.
Was Leia a slave?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, she had this cute outfit that people seem to
I
get
remember that. I kind of remember something along those lines.
So John puts that outfit on all the time. Don't let him like it.
Well, I only have to manscape before I can get it to look right.
That takes a long time.
Well, I will say, it's a brave woman that puts on that
Yes.
Leia outfit.
And we have seen some at Comic-Con that has done it, and it's like, man, you've got to be strong in yourself.
But hey, we've seen a lot that rocket though.
Oh yeah, there's
some
some really great ones.
Dude,
but there have also been some like, oh, there are children here.
Yeah.
You can't wear that in public.
Yeah.
Well, when we were rewatching Return of the Jedi yesterday, getting ready for this, there's a scene where she's laying on Jabba, and it's like, God dang, man, Carrie Fisher, man,
She was skinny.
She had a washboard stomach.
Oh, yeah.
She was hungry.
She was hungry.
Well,
She was hungry.
is this the one that they sent her to the fat camp, or was that episode 4?
That was episode 4. They sent her to
Yeah.
fat camp. Yeah. So
I heard about the trials and tribulations of Carrie Fisher and everything. It's like, yeah, you're too heavy. What the hell are you talking? That girl's like small.
She was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
And then you're telling her she doesn't need to wear underwear and everything because they don't need that stuff in the future.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's strange.
I'm sorry. When she wears the white, it's not a gown, but it's
and
kind of
first
like a
one,
robe.
Yeah.
And like,
when she got the buns.
really, give the girl a bra. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is it so much to ask?
Well,
Yeah.
you don't need
Apparently
bras in the
was.
future because there's no gravity. They just kind of stay up all the time. I'm serious. I thought that's what George told her. I don't know.
They actually took gaffer tape. No joke, she said they took gaffer tape and taped her down. Because her bosom was so big. And she said, so the crew had a pool on who got to remove the gaffer tape at the end of the day.
Oh my god.
That's a Carrie Fisher story. I'm not being...
All right. I did not know that.
So, when she brought Chewbacca in, and so she was, and that was a really cool costume that they had her wearing as a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
That was, she was really, and once again, we get that line, is after she's been there, she gets 35 credits or however much.
35,000.
1,000 credits. So then everybody's asleep, and she goes and lets Han out of the Cairo freeze.
Yeah.
And she gets to say, he tells her he loves her, and she's like, I know. So she gets to do it back to him.
Right, yeah.
So that was...
Yeah, I mean that is a great scene. I don't know if that was written that way or if that was something that Carrie Fisher like. No, I need some payback here or something. Because I mean, if you read Carrie Fisher's novel, not to go too far into it and everything, her and Harrison Ford did have a
bit of a
fling during. And I don't know if it was like during 4 into 5 or 5 into 6 or something.
Oh.
I would think more into 5 into 6.
Yeah, because they just had a little bit more chemistry.
Yeah, the chemistry was a lot stronger there. So I think it happened more in 5. I don't know if it ended before 6, but you could see there was definitely a chemistry there that I think carried into that. No pun intended.
Like I said.
Yeah.
See what you did there.
See, alcohol makes you funnier. I don't care what you say.
There you go.
She never buys into this, so I know she's had too much to drink already.
Hey, I've been pacing myself.
Right.
So, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, she's in like serious shape. I mean, like, I don't know, they probably didn't have CrossFit back then, but she was doing something similar.
Yeah.
Like, she maybe had the ropes and stuff.
Yeah.
And all that
I
stuff.
like the ropes.
So, yeah.
Okay, so
Moving
They-
along.
Moving right along.
so they've gotten Han out of Carbonite. They're taking them out on the floating boat
Barge, whatever you want to call it.
to drop them into the Sarlacc. I know
Right.
we chatted a little bit in between episodes here where, going down into the Sarlacc. Tell me a little bit about that portion of the movie. Feelings on those?
I thought that the I'm not going to say what we said it looked like, but needless to say, in the original theatrical cut, it was a very lifeless looking prop.
Yes, it was.
And that's one of the things that I think the special editions, the whatever you want to call them, actually helped, is they added that beak and they made the tentacles animated and things like that.
Right.
I really did. To me, the coolest shot is when Luke walks out over the plank and looks, and you can see it looking up at him like that. That was a cool shot.
That is a cool shot. Like I said, adding extra CGI and stuff sometimes can be so wrong, but sometimes it really helps explain a scene a lot better.
Yeah.
Well, and to me, it makes the case both for and against doing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, do we need the dance number inserted into Jabba's palace? I don't think so.
It's like, okay, we're going to put this craziness in, but this thing's going to look really cool and do that. And it's like, all right, well, if that's the only way I can get you to do it, then we're going to do it. So,
because I think if they did anything else in Return of the Jedi, besides at the very end when they added the different environments from the prequels.
Was right.
Well, but they changed. They went and gave Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. They made
that's right.
They replaced the original actor that had done the Anakin Skywalker, and replaced him with Christian Hayden. So, which again, I didn't really. I didn't like that.
You didn't like it?
No, because I mean,
it's Hayden Christensen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What was I saying?
I feel like you were flipping his name. Maybe I just flipped it when I heard it. But we're good.
I said Hayden
You said Christian Haydenson.
You did.
Yeah, which by the way is a very cool freaking name. I may have to keep that.
Cheers. Didn't know alcohol gave you dyslexia. Speaking,
But that should fix you then, right?
I don't know, man. I've just been drinking. But I was gonna say the one thing that, we really didn't get to talk a little bit about last segment that I want to bring up is and what pisses me off about it is the fact that Boba Fett. They gave him such this horrible way to die or to be gotten rid of and everything, and I'm like, you guys didn't even scratch the surface with this character. I mean, you had a great character in 5 with him. I mean, the fact that you see him backtalk Vader and everything, and a lot of people, if you've seen the movies, he's got these twines of hair that's on his helmet and stuff. So for the longest time, people always thought that was like Wookiee hair and stuff. But our understanding is actually those are the Padawan tails from the Padawans he hunted and killed. So it's like, dang, this guy's a badass.
Yeah, there's so much character to
So much character, and I guess this is exactly why we now have the Mandalorian. Because so many people wanted to have a story about the Mandalorians. I mean, of course, they wanted Boba Fett. We had Jango Fett from 1, 2, and 3, but I really think this is why the Mandalorian's doing so well is the fact that Boba Fett himself and the such poor way they handled the end of that character. People wanted to see
there's been tons of fan fiction of how he ended up climbing out of the sarcophagus.
Oh, I know.
Well, I mean, it goes to show you, again, this trilogy created this universe that has expanded exponentially over the last, we're going on 40 years now. So I think, looking back at these stories, it's different now, I think, for us to go back and talk about them, just because we have all this extra stuff.
Right.
And looking back, this one for me resonated for me as my favorite then because of the Ewoks. I was a kid. I was 5. So I loved the Ewoks. I know they were supposed to be Wookiees.
But you didn't know that then.
I know that now. I'm like, okay, sure, I can see where that would have been a little more, rough and tough. My little Ewoks, they were resourceful for tiny little bears.
Yeah, they really, the Ewoks.
I'm just curious, how in the world did they have the numbers sheer strength to lift these logs up on ropes to swing into the just to go boom? And I'm like, damn, that.
Okay, but they were primitive, and so they had to know
guerrilla warfare. I understand.
Guerrilla warfare.
Physics.
They would have to know twine.
No, you got the pulleys and the twines, and X amount of Ewoks equals lift Y and J, K, and Z. And
my thing was the idea of what they look like beating these battle-hardened stormtroopers in armor that, by the way, one movie prior had kicked the crap out of battle-hardened rebel troops dug in a trench on Hoth.
Right.
And now these...
We blew all those up. This is a rookie crew.
They're clones. So
JV squad now.
They are clones,
They're clones, so we're trying to...
Making copies of copies. Yeah.
Well, I mean...
And I get it. George Lucas, it was a Vietnam analogy.
That is exactly what I was going to say. It's like, I mean, how badass are we as soldiers? But here we were being, beaten by guerrilla warfare. That it was just a style of fighting that we weren't used to having to fight against.
Right.
And I understand that's what they were trying to go for there and stuff. But I'm sorry, seeing a Wookiee ripping some stormtroopers' arms out, would have been way
Honestly,
cooler.
I just felt like they went a little too far in the comedy in some places.
Yes.
Like Wicket going to throw his
Yeah.
and then we saw that. I'm like, that's some Jar Jar shit right there.
Well,
And then-
even
You didn't even
in
know
front
Jar
of,
Jar existed yet.
No, last night we were watching, so that's some Jar Jar shit.
even in front of Jabba's palace where they have this creature that's sitting there, and this
Yeah,
little creature comes out and he
frog.
sucks him in like a frog
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
burps. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Again, that added no.
But was that in the original?
Yes, that was in the original.
Okay.
That was in the
Okay, I couldn't remember.
I
I
just
yeah.
I saw
remember
it,
if it was-
and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna. It's been so long since we've seen the original versus how many tweaks that they've put out.
I know,
It's like, at what
I know.
point did? It's like, man, what was the original? We need to go borrow your mom's VCR
I
and
know.
The
VCR
old
tapes.
VHS tapes.
I know. No, you still got beta? You got your beta
Oh,
tapes?
no, it's long gone, man.
Man.
Long gone.
I see.
I played those all up.
I'd be
I-
willing to bet my mom replaced her VHS set multiple times because the tapes just wore out, and then we upgraded her to DVDs, and then she's upgraded to Blu-ray, and now she got a new Apple TV for Christmas.
Oh boy.
With the
Yeah,
$25
Disney
gift card, we're getting Disney Plus, and she's going to be seeing all the new stuff.
You know, one of my biggest things I've said, I wonder what I've owned more copies of. The Star Wars trilogy or the Bond films?
Oh,
I
really?
don't,
Oh,
I don't,
that's a toss-up.
I don't know. It's like,
See, mine either Star Wars or Godfather.
oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
those are the
We
two
have a
that.
lot of versions of the Godfather.
Yes, and unfortunately not the one we want. The 8-hour
Oh,
long.
That's
Oh, I'm sorry. That's different. That's different. That's
deal.
different.
That's a different deal.
Oh, okay.
We digress.
We digress.
Okay, so we have made it past Java. We're moving to the forest moon of Endor.
Yes.
Okay.
I went to summer camp there. In case anybody's wondering.
Well,
about
do
my
we need
t-shirt.
to go to Dagobah first for the final interaction between Luke, Yoda, and Obi-Wan? I think we covered a little bit of it. Just
Yeah,
want
we
to make
covered a
sure
little
I think
bit.
we
there
did.
wasn't any other
I mean-
segments there.
Any
And
comments on the fact of how Obi-Wan's explanation to Luke to be lame? Like we've written ourselves into a corner, or at least something that begged for something else to start going on inside Luke's soul about, well, if you lied to me about
Right.
that, maybe you've lied to me about the dark side thing.
right,
you know?
right. There, if you don't mind,
Go
I'll
ahead.
start. Yeah, I just that whole it's like catching your parent in a lie, and then they try to backpedal into it, and
We would not know what that's like.
then having to backpedal out of that lie as a parent and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, I didn't think the scene really worked because I mean, here they are. You're saying this is the person that's going to save the galaxy, yet he can't handle the truth. He's a little too delicate. I mean, this is
Okay.
before. Go ahead.
Well, I think, like we said at first, he was such a whiny kid. He was a brat. And it was like, so this truly is about the Skywalker line. It truly is about,
6-7.
it's truly about the Skywalker line. And that's what George had intended to tell the story of the Skywalker line. And Obi-Wan, he is truly like Qui-Gon and like Yoda. They talk out, or even Mace Windu.
Yeah.
I mean, they say one thing, but they mean another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're lying. He is trying to show him that there's a bigger story. There's a bigger world out there. Yes, I told you Vader killed your father.
Which is a version of the truth.
Which is a virgin of, that is the truth because Anakin chose to listen to the Emperor and take on that persona.
Yeah.
So, because he was after his mother died, he was so fixated on living and the thought of losing Padme, because I guess he saw into the future that he did kill Padme, but he didn't,
Just that she died.
She died.
that
Yeah.
she died.
Right.
And so he truly wanted to follow. The Emperor was like, I can show you how to keep her from dying.
Right.
So truthfully, Vader did kill his father. And so, him being that age, preteen, early 20s, you know, do we want to listen to that?
Well, and Yoda also made the comment before he died that, you know, unexpected this is for Vader to confess that already.
Yes.
Because he didn't think that he was ready to have that truth yet.
Right.
The version of the truth that Obi-Wan gave was what Luke could handle at the time.
Right.
Because he was always looking at the future.
Right.
What's in the future? He couldn't focus on the present, so tossing that idea at him, I think they thought he wasn't ready.
Do you think that maybe by, you know, this constant state of maybe manipulation or constant of just feeding him a little bit of information at a time always made him was like, well, I've got to look to the future, because at this point, everyone that's ever told me what it is, it's always something a little bit different. So now I've got to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of everyone to be prepared for the next lie that's going to be told to me.
But the future can change.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just...
Well, see, I saw that as kind of part of the Jedi's problem in the prequel trilogy, was they were always trying to manage and handle information and disseminate it in a way that they felt kind of kept things in order in a nice neat box, and as a result, they got outsmarted.
Exactly.
So,
you know, I agree. I think it was history repeating itself that with Obi-Wan and Yoda, in the sense that once again they're trying to manage the information Luke has to think that they know what he can and can't handle. And yeah, we've just termed that Luke was a little bit of a brat, a little bit, you know, I don't know, spoiled.
Started believing his own press.
Exactly. And so by this constant misinformation in a, well, this is how we saw it, or this is the way we thought you could handle it the best, made Luke more, you know, I mean, even as we know with the 7, 8, and 9, Luke saw this future and he thought, well, there's no way I can not turn Ben back, so I've got to act now. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't try to confront Ben about his turning. Yeah. And I know we're going in this topic that you want to talk, but again, it seems like the history of the Jedi is always like, we need to control the narrative. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's how it always winds up screwing them in the end.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which is ironic, because the Jedi are supposed to be so altruistic.
Exactly.
It's like every time they try to dip into stuff they're not good at. Yeah.
Oops, did I step in that? Sorry.
Yeah.
That could be why they're trying to convince him to focus on the present, though. Confront what's in front of you at this moment, because looking into the future, we shouldn't, because it can change, because things can go awry.
Or you can misread it.
So other things. Anything else specifically that we want to hit on? So this story is wrapping up this part of the trilogy. This was our first look into the Star Wars universe.
Our first true trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
This was the beginning of the trilogies.
Yes.
So, how do we feel
I think the
this
wrap
story
up,
culminated?
You know, ultimately, I think it culminated very successfully. Right. We have Luke confronting his father, not as a boy, but as a man now.
Right.
We saw he refused to make the same mistake that his father did.
Right.
He chose not to go to the dark side.
He chose not to go to the dark side. He almost lost his life because of it.
Right.
Unlike Anakin, he proved he was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to keep that, which again led to his father's redemption, and brought that all whole. I think it was a great way to wrap up the Han-Leia relationship. The fact that, at least in my mind, they were going to be together forever.
I agree.
Yeah.
Again, totally different discussion there. And I think I said this when we reviewed the ending of The Phantom Menace, the last 20 minutes of that movie is George Lucas at his best. I mean, you got a space battle going on, you got an epic battle going on, you got a lightsaber duel.
Like, I mean, I agree with you 100. I mean, it hits on every major point about Star Wars, what Star Wars fans love.
And that one shot of the Death Star and the Millennium Falcon flying and all the fighters, I think until the Vorlon fleet came out of the jump gate on the Babylon 5 premiere, it held the record for the most number of elements on screen in any effect shot. It was...
I think they may have reclaimed that on episode 9.
I think you're probably right.
So, you'll know the scene when you see it. So if you haven't seen it yet.
Is that it?
Yeah. So anyway, I agree. I mean, like I said earlier, I think Return of the Jedi was definitely a good wrap up to every story arc they had culminated up to this point in that movie. Yeah. And so, and it's still, to me, it was still a good movie. I know we've talked about the CGIs, the adding, and all that stuff, and there were some good points and some bad points. But all in all, I think it was just a good movie to wrap up all stories.
Okay, so kind of going to start closing us out here a little bit, unless there's something that you guys want to touch on that we haven't hit yet. Okay, so I would say to close out this trilogy of episodes for fanboys, we'll start with Turtle Gal. We've reviewed episodes 4, 5, and 6 of this trilogy. What would you say is your favorite?
Oh, Return of the Jedi, hands down. Just the camaraderie between them all, and I like the Hollywood ending. I like the happy endings. You know, that one crappy movie that we saw, the Jennifer Aniston and
the breakup. You're still going on about that?
Oh, that just pissed me off. But you know, so
Turtle Gal likes the Hollywood ending.
I do, because what's the point of going to a movie to see some crap that you live your life every day?
The guy gets the girl, they win.
Yeah. You know, we have fireworks, we get to go to all the other worlds, you know, we defeated the Empire. We killed the Emperor.
Yes, we did.
And he was on the Death Star when it blew up. Sorry. Vader threw him down the shaft.
Yep. Crushed his spine when he picked him up.
Yeah. You know, threw him down.
Took the Force lightning that was meant for Luke, which is ultimately what caused
Vader's death.
Yeah, his suit failed because of all that and everything. So let's... Yeah.
All right, okay.
Oh,
what would be your favorite episode?
4, 5, and 6.
I have to say episode 4, just because. Really? Not to mix my metaphors, but nothing beats your first time.
Oh,
you know I mean, nothing beats your first time. I mean, I could watch Star. I'm always going to call it Star Wars. I'm sorry. I mean, I can watch Star Wars anytime. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like I could be, doubling over with the worst case of the flu ever. Star Wars on, okay. I mean, it just makes you happy. It's all. I mean, watching Star Wars is just a lot of fun,
right?
And there's just nothing to compare to it, I don't think. And especially, I think about you not ever having seen it on the big screen. When they did do the special editions, that was one thing that I did like, was sitting in that theater and seeing that Star Destroyer go over camera one more time, because there's nothing like it.
Okay. IT?
So I'm going to say 5. Empire Strikes Back. I mean, you say nothing beats your first time. Well, I'm going to kind of come back at you with nothing beats your best time.
Okay.
I mean,
that's
like
fine.
I said, I know we lost, but again, the sheer story of it, all the elements worked for me. I just, like I said, there's nothing bad, and I mean, I have to really try hard, as we've already heard, to find a bad thing about Empire Strikes Back for me. That may not be your cup of tea, but 5 Empire Strikes Back.
It's one of the greatest sequels ever made.
Oh yeah.
So I think for me, it's always been this last story because of the Ewoks, because that would have been my favorite as a child. I will say, as we go back and we watch them again and again, this time around when we were prepping for this, The Empire Strikes Back resonated more with me than The Return of the Jedi. Like Steph, though, I want a happy ending. I want to win. Yep. I want there to be pomp and circumstance.
No babies, though. No babies.
Babies ruin everything.
I had to
Hello? Episode 3.
Yep. Babies ruin everything.
Anakin might not have gone to the dark side if he'd not gotten her pregnant.
Yeah.
But there's something about Empire Strikes Back. I do think of the 3, it has more important scenes to me. The time with Yoda and Luke going through training, I think those are things that stand out, and just, I love you.
Oh, was you talking about the scene? I thought you were saying,
it's an Empire, so I think I'm a little torn childhood memories, though, it's definitely Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's Ewoks and it's winning, and
It's,
I'm an only child. I like to win.
No tiger's blood though. It's just winning.
Any last minute thoughts on the original trilogy?
No, I'm good. Thanks for everyone joining in tonight.
Yeah,
We just had a great time.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode, and we will be back soon, I'm sure, reviewing episodes 7, 8, and 9. So until then, may the Force be with you.
That's right.
Ooh, enter.